Hello there everyone. I figured I would record some of my thoughts about my Gladiator Exsanguinate Spellslinger starter, along with Reap for some added extra single target. And so far, the build has been not very impressive. I'll show you a map here of how it performs in a normal T4 map, which is going to have the Redeemer influence on it. And we'll actually try and display this ultimatum as well, which I've had good experiences with in general. It feels like the build does decently well at the ultimatum. I wouldn't say it's the best. Something like Essence Drain would probably fare much better, but in general, it feels like it handles them decently well. I made the mistake of having the cooldowns recover 5 times slower occasionally, which completely messes up your Spellslinger, of course. So that's not very good. And we'll just pick up some nice heist contracts here. But really, I found the build to just be lacking something. I'm not sure if it's something with the clear, because I feel like my boss damage is certainly good enough, but there's just something about the clear that feels very clunky or slow to me, not like the other Spellslinger builds that I've been doing or have done in the past. I'm not sure if that was just because it was the stronger iteration, which was the Chaos Slinger, but there certainly feels like there's something missing when I'm trying to clear maps, which is really annoying, especially early league when you want to really get through everything as fast as possible. Having a build that feels slow and clunky is not very enjoyable. And we'll just skip this Delirium because I don't feel quite confident in my build handling it. It's also great that we get a Metamorph here, so I can show that at the end of the map, because I feel like that's one of the places where the build really shines, like big single target pieces of content, which I'm actually a bit surprised about, because I was under the impression that this build was actually going to clear very well, which is, it clears okay. It doesn't really amaze me, but really the single target has been super impressive. Reap and Exsanguinate, along with a self-cast vulnerability, has really been doing wonders. I think most bosses drop in a matter of 5 seconds or so, which is really impressive considering the amount of gear and budget I have currently. We'll see. Yep, this guy just dies, falls over immediately, which is pretty silly to me. It's unlike any other build I've played, at least this early league, in that sense, except for perhaps the slam build. And we'll see if we can gather up the last few components for this metamorph, so I can have a display of that as well, but it's going to be fairly similar to the boss, really. And I feel like it might be worth playing around with Corrupting Fever, but I'm not quite sure how you would get it to refresh. You could manual cast it, which seems pretty rough considering it doesn't have the longest duration and the cost is pretty hefty, even especially if you've got it linked with stuff. But I think the solution might be in getting your Flame Dash up to a high mana cost and then supporting it with Life Tap, and you could probably sustain it off of that, which would be a great damage boost. And also, primarily on single target though, which I don't feel like the build needs at the moment, which is the reason that I haven't tried it so far. And we'll just chuck in some stuff. We'll get some uniques, it's all fine. And we'll see how fast this thing dies. Oh, I made it curse, or hexproof rather, so I think it's going to take a little bit longer, but yeah, still, no real challenge for a build like this. And I guess I'll jump out for a short little display of my gear. So really, the only semi-decent pieces I have are the 2 wands, which are just +1s, with some crafted mods on them. I got a tabula from Ultimatum. I haven't really been that impressed with Ultimatum's rewards so far. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, or I haven't been doing enough of them, or maybe it's getting unlucky. But so far, not very impressed. This is an amulet that I desperately need to replace. I think I need some stats from it. Yeah, exactly. But I'm thinking I could probably drop that. And then some decent boots, missing a good life roll, but otherwise excellent. A really good belt that I got at level 50 or something. Decent gloves, okay rings. And the helmet is pretty terrible. I have a couple of upgrades, just struggling with links and colors at the moment. And I don't know where to go from here to really make the build feel better. I don't have my Uber Lab done yet, so I could potentially try and go for something like Blood and Sand and get the Challenger charges, but I don't know if that's going to make the build feel better, and it's also going to require some heavy rejigging of my reservation, which would make me do less damage, but perhaps it's worth it for the clear speed. And I think the other thing that could make the clear speed better is perhaps a vulnerability curse on hit ring, along with swapping out Frenzy for something like Kinetic Blast with greater multiple projectiles or something like that to get coverage of vulnerability during the map, but I'm not sure that would help that much either. It just feels like it needs something more, and I'm going to experiment with Shane linked to Exsanguinate, because I think that might be the key. I've heard about people that are talking about it, and it seems like that's what really makes this build feel smooth, because it certainly lacks something at the moment, but it's overall a great build, especially if you're okay with it being slightly clunky clear speed. The boss damage is amazing, even on pretty budget gear as in a league start environment, and I think that's about it for my thoughts, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you around.